uh, that's interesting. I should have every livery. Man, if we still don't have that many people, it's going to be disappointing. There were so many new Corvettes. There's one of them. So at least have one new person. I guess that's at least something. Also, I forgot I need to change this. Actually, no. I'm going to stick with the same strategy of cutting the race in half. Because the tires were just starting to go off. Right at the end of last time. So I think it'll be smarter to stick with that. As opposed to trying to change it now. I have to consider there's probably
so that's why it didn't work.
Less grip on the track than there was yesterday when I was practicing. Since I had 10 AI on there for almost 2 hours, constantly going around. Well, the AI line around here is odd. They take a really shallow entry to this corner right here.
It's a bit of a strange pit entry.
God, it reminds me when I even practiced that.
It's like a sharp right turn.
Always surprises me when people are just suddenly realizing things like pit entry. That's one of the things I tend to test pretty early on.
Alright, mate.
See you.
See you, buddy.
Get your arse on the computer and do some housework for me, please. That's what you just told. I reckon. Go and wash these dishes up.
I need to move my pedals a little closer. I just adjusted them earlier today. Feel a tiny bit too far away. Well, more than that, I feel a little bit too close to the wheel by the time I get to the pedals. Let's see what time I do here, though. I mean, basically, I want to get it feeling nice before qualifying. Oops. It's not how you take that corner entry. At all. Man, when this track doesn't have rubber down it, it sucks. Like, it really sucks. Seriously though, this track blows without rubber. I'm waiting. I was waiting for me. Sorry then.
There's been an issue with finding affiliate links.
That's it?
Yeah, because I know Tobias is the last person who bought that product. I never did get commission out of that. Apparently, well, there's been an issue.
From my end?
Oh, no, nothing to do with your items. That's not good.
Have you sorted it with them?
No, they're in the process of fixing it. Was they have? I will mention that somebody did purchase a product via the link, and I never got the commission.
Yeah, well, they will be able to check that.
Yeah. Just got a message from Will, but he had to go.
Okay.
Yeah, he just told me his dad had a heart attack and rushed into hospital.
You're joking?
No kidding.
No.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. 2016, isn't it?
Yeah. Fingers crossed he's alright.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Can't be that old, actually, can he?
I don't know. Yeah, because Wilbur's not particularly old himself, is he? So
No.
he's 20s, isn't he?
Yeah.
See what time this is. 2:13. I was doing 2:11s last time, although it was on a mostly empty tank. And it was with a much more rubbered-in track. The second of those probably being much more important. My car is fast in a straight line though. I just pull away from that Aston Martin. It is not a happy car under braking right now. Like, not even slightly. Weird because I was not getting that yesterday. Again, now it's just sliding from the front a lot of the time.
How many are in server?
Another.
Yeah, 12.
No, 30.
Oh yeah, 13.
Hey, Bellafronte. Got it. There we go, there's a 211. That's more what I'm looking for. There's a lot of that curve. I think the sections at the two ends of the track are where I'm most likely to have somebody try and make a move on me. Which unfortunately means I need to get a really good exit out of that corner. And then out of this corner up here.
I'll be out.
To make the most of these straights.
You're off of here.
And I need to stop doing that. Really not happy with me braking while cornering, which again yesterday was not an issue, but I guess it literally just has to be the lack of rubber on track. That's the only difference, which means I have the choice of either making it safer under braking now or waiting till later in the race when the track comes back to me. I guess I could just alter the brake bias. Throughout the race. Let's put it more forward at the beginning. Move it rearward as we get more rubber down. Probably going to be safer to just understeering the brakes through the diff power though, or diff coast. I think that's just going to be a smarter option. So just crank that to 70. Load. Save. Alright, we'll go out on quali. Set up and see what we can do here in the last few moments. Car is so stiff at the front. Got a lot of people leaving right before qualifying, which is weird. Hopefully they're just like resetting their game or something. Because I mean we only have 12 right now. Last thing I want is to have even less people. Even at 70%, it still really wants to snap on me. It's one of the things I wish REVS would change at some point. I wish they'd just run with rubber. Although again, when you have 26 people, it doesn't really matter, because you get enough rubber down very quickly. But as soon as you get below 20, the amount of rubber going down on track gets very low. Why it feels like it's one of those things that always is frustrating. When you dial in a setup, everything feels great, and then the next day you hop into it.
Hello guys.
And it feels significantly
Hi,
different.
mate.
Ciao Fabio. Ciao.
Ciao Tony. parte stasera?
Stasera?
Sì, perché l'ho consegnato oggi, lui l'ho consegnato alle 3.
Ah, ho capito.
Capito? Quindi lui va, stasera tanto per caso, io penso che venerdì è a casa.
Thought I was already in sixth.
Al
That was
massimo
weird.
lunedì, dai, ormai.
Sì, sì. For translation, I bought Fabio's base 1.
Alright,
base.
Cool.
Oh, there you go.
È Formula Well Ring.
Yes. I hope Fabio didn't rip you off there, Donny, with that.
Yes.
No, I finish.
So are you using that now then, Donny, or are you still waiting for it to turn up?
Yeah, no, I'm waiting. He extended it today.
Okay, cool.
Maybe Friday.
Yeah.
Latest.
I just need to
Monday.
break in a straight line for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Better not make it quicker than me, Donny.
No, I don't think.
About to start qualifying here.
Steve, you were talking about the differential the other day.
Yes, mate.
Would you say that if I reduce the power percentage, that it will have a softer power delivery?
It will help coming out the corners.
So it will stop it spinning up so much?
Yes, mate. It's an awkward one because some sims or some mods tend to go higher the power. But it depends, mate. Try it.
Because
Look,
I've got to get out the habit of stabbing the throttle. I do jab
Yeah.
at it sometimes, so,
so do I, mate. It's,
so you're used to kind of coming off the power then going straight back on it.
Yeah. The diff is one of the main things to change before you change anything else.
And what would the other one do then?
Helps going into the corner.
So it'd be as if you reduce it, the wheels wouldn't be locked.
If you
Yeah.
reduce it, it'll turn into the corner more, I think.
User joined your channel.
Just trying to work it out physically that it will. The wheels won't turn in unison, will they? So it will
No.
help turn.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the lower, the harsher it is in the turns, and the higher, the smoother it is. I mean, on some cars I'll run.
More stable it is, yeah.
Yes. On some cars I'll run a 10 on the power and the coast all the way up. This is why I struggle on cars that haven't got a power and coast.
So does that make it stable but sluggish?
I wouldn't say sluggish. It depends on the car, mate.
Hi,
Are you asking about diff?
Yeah. If that's diff, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So power is when you accelerate. If you, it'll the more percentage there is, the more the wheels at the rear are locked, but also the front ones as well, actually. So it means that it will make you understeer coming out of corners because it'll wait until basically you have traction. Or it basically pushes the car more forward rather than continuing your angle of turn through the corner as you apply the power. But if you have a lower percentage, it allows the outside wheels to turn.
I basically
quicker than
just
the
explained
inside wheels.
everything he's explaining
So
in
it
one
means
sentence right there.
You have more potential for oversteer at the low percentages, more potential for understeer at the higher percentages.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start noting this stuff down.
So was my explanation correct then, mate? I mean, in simple terms now, because I'm not, technical when it comes to that. I just know that for me to get out the corners, I run a lower power, and I just play around with the coast. I don't really care about that.
I mean, if you're finding the back end is just swinging out a lot under power when you apply the throttle, then you need a higher percentage on the power.
Nope.
I always go lower. I always go lower, mate.
I mean, if you go at 100%, then you'll find you will rarely as long as the car setup's reasonable, you'll rarely spin up the rears.
That is 100% false.
Interesting.
It's not how diff
It's
power
one of them
works.
black magic things, isn't it?
Diff power and diff coast are exactly the opposite.
Oh, that would be the dampers.
Sorry, diff power is exactly the opposite of what he just said. The lower the diff power, the more it tries to allow. Basically, the higher the diff power, the more locked the rear is
Hey, what
on
I
throttle.
say to people is, if you're losing it and the power coming out the corners, is lower your power setting. It works for me. So
Which is what
whether
you should do.
it's incorrect, I really don't know, but it just.
What Steve is
works
saying
for
right
me.
now is correct. You want more understeer
But like
out
I
of
say,
the corner.
some I've noticed that you have to go the opposite way.
You want more understeer out of the corner, reduce your diff power. If you want more oversteer out of the corner, increase it. That's the correct direction for diff power. Basically, diff power and diff coast are inverses of one another.
Buy a set of coaster head.
Like most stuff on a race car. Very similar to the suspension.
Probably can't hear anymore, we're doing a quality.
Yeah, alright, I'll be quiet. Didn't know you'd gone to come on.
Basically, think of diff power like rear suspension. The softer you go on rear suspension, the more understeer you get. The stiffer, the more oversteer you get. It's exactly the same. And then think of the diff coast like the front suspension, because they affect the car in very similar ways. Where your diff power is mostly for accelerating out of the corners, and your diff coast is mostly for getting into the corners.
Been noticing the tracks that we've been running lately, they never look like they're rubbered in.
Yeah, you're right.
I really wish for the first hour of practice they ran 10 AI. It would really help with rubbering in the tracks. This still isn't rubbered in at all. Oh, Venter went with a 206 right away. I think that's the best lap I've done. Although again, my setup is better at top speed than anything else. Now again, with what that other guy was saying with the inverse of diff power and coast, it is possible that some mod makers get that wrong, considering some racers get that wrong. So every once in a while you'll run into a reversed power and coast setting where you have to invert your thinking on it, which just makes it that much worse. It's one of those really frustrating things where many people can get confused with those settings. I mean, and not even that, game to game it might just change based on what that developer does with it. Although realistically they should all just follow what the actual item from the actual car does. Oh no, 208s was the best I was doing, not 206s. At least I think. I would have to check on live racers, which I will likely do in a moment. I hate that I still have to lift there. The car just doesn't turn in if I don't. I am not the fastest car in a straight line. That legitimately surprises me. Figured I'd be one of the cars with the least downforce on it. And it's what the Viper kind of excels at anyway. Well, I guess it also depends on how good you drive the car. So somebody else with my setup might be able to get more out of it. In terms of exiting the corner at the right time. So many spots around this track where you don't have a choice. You have to be braking while turning. It's just not easy to do, even at the best of times.
Is a 2:10.32.
What was my best time before? By the way, if you guys want to look at live timing and scoring, you can use that link. Yeah, my best time around here is a 2:08.5, so I'm still considerable margin away from that. I didn't think I would hit that today, because that was kind of an amazing fluke. But, I was hoping I would. We actually have 15. I thought we'd only have 12. So we have more than I thought we would, which is good. Alright, let's go for another shot at it. I think I'm going to be a little bit nicer to my tires this time. Although time-wise, it looks like Van Oak and Wood are both going to be right around my time. Which could potentially lead to a pretty good race. Which would be nice. Because last time I was just on my own for the vast majority of the race. Which isn't terrible, but not the most fun thing in the world. Just be tootling around by yourself. God, the car is so unhappy on braking. Which just doesn't make very much sense. Again, the only thing that's changed from yesterday to today is just the lack of rubber on track. So that's all I can really attribute it to. But it feels odd that that would affect braking so aggressively. I mean, the other option is that I'm actually braking differently, which is possible, because I have moved my pedals. But I don't really have an easy way to test that.
Sorry to bag.
No problem.
But even there, like it shouldn't be braking free there. It should stick just fine. They already took out that baller. I guess I'm being a little bit more aggressive on curbs today too. So that might be at least part of it. Oh, wood jumped up by about half a second. Let's see what we can do here. It's down after that first sector. Still down. Car just sucks on braking now. I mean, I can't stiffen the front anymore. No, there's a 5-minute warm-up and then the race. I mean, I hate having to take my diff coast that high. It's just going to give me so much understeer. But if I literally can't drive it, there's no point in not doing it. And a car that's understeering more than I would like is better than a car that's undrivable. It just sucks. The car felt so good yesterday. But again, I guess the bulk of it was just how much rubber was on track. There. But it's just the outlap, so it doesn't matter. A 2:04.7. Jeez.
Sorry, Kevin.
No worries.
It's worth noting my best time around here is a 2:08.5. And there, again, I'm not on the brake that hard. I turn to the right and it just, boom, instantly snaps. I guess I'd probably be better off changing my brake balance at this point, as opposed to the diff. But looking at the tire heat, it is slightly locking that right front first, and then it just comes around because of that. So it's not like it's locking the rears or anything. See what we can do here. I don't hold up much faith in myself at this point. I am gonna check my brake balance though. God, I can brake so nicely for that first corner. I almost wonder if my brakes are just cold. Because they feel really good all through here. Maybe they're too hot. Well, no, if they're too hot, they should just not work. They shouldn't snap like that. They'd snap it because they're too cold. But again, they're not snapping here. Like, I would expect, if it's too cold, I would expect that behavior from this braking right here, where it would just break free. Like right there. I would not expect it here, which is where I'm getting the bulk of it. They are ever so slightly cold though. I could probably up my blanking one. I guess that also depends on what the temperature is for the race itself. That's the optimal way to take that corner. I don't do that very often. That is the optimal route through there. Guess I just need to be nicer on the brakes. That's what I'm doing this time, and it's getting in there, although I'm slow. God. It's one of the most frustrating things when the car just feels completely different day to day. It feels great in so many of the corners still, and then the others it just feels absolutely terrible. Like there, it should not be snapping loose on me there. At all. And there. Oh, God. It's just doing it everywhere. Which again just makes it feel so awful. I got a faster first sector out of it so far. I'm gonna have to look at what the air temperature is set to. Maybe it's colder than it was the last time I tested. Lost a ton of time in that middle sector. I don't think I'm going to gain any of it back here. This is probably my weakest sector. There's that crest right there. You don't get it slowed down in time. You just run wide. There's almost nothing you can do about it. God. Well, this is not going to be pleasant. It's so frustrating. Yeah, I've already got it as 60-40. I don't really want to split that even more. Well, we'll see. I mean, on the bright side, having more weight in the car will definitely help. On the downside, it will also hurt at the same time. I mean, I literally, I cannot stiffen it anymore. That's just gonna do bad things. I don't really want to soften the rear anymore. I could stiffen the front ARB, but again, it's already so stiff and it's bouncing. It's the only other option would be to, I could decrease the front toe by 1/2 degree. But that's just, most of what that's going to do is just make it not as sharp on turn.
I don't know what happened there from my bloody 40 lap.
Not really gonna
So
fix
slow.
anything. I think we'll just leave it.
And hello, Sharjil.
God, I'm
And
way
Marina.
out here.
I
Hi,
thought I
Kevin.
recognised the voice.
Hi,
Hey,
Kevin.
Shajil.
Hi, Steve. Hi, how are you?
My fastest
Alright,
lap
mate.
was good enough to be like 9th.
Yeah, I just jumped in and right away went on to the track. I did say hello, but you guys were talking about something.
Alright, I need to grab
Rubbish as always.
I need to grab water
As
and
always.
use the restroom, so I will be back very shortly.
Yeah, good to see you back. So you got a new computer and everything, I'm assuming now?
Yeah, last week.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
But
After
yeah, so-
whining over the robbery for a month or two. Finally,
Yeah,
we got, yeah.
yeah, sorry to hear about that. Yeah, right, bummer.
What was that, Shajil? You got robbed?
Yeah, I did. There was a burglary in my apartment. So my PC was stolen, Xbox, a lot of my laptop, a lot of other stuff.
Oh, mate, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was around Christmas. I was in London, and yeah, so I heard about it on 4th of January. That's why you wouldn't have seen me around for 2 months, 2 or 3 months now.
Anything personal taken or just
But
electronic?
electronic things mainly. Yeah.
That's awful, mate.
Yeah, I know. The worst bit is that I wasn't covered under a contents insurance, so I couldn't get any of it back. But what's done is done.
Yeah, I can't see why people do it to people's houses. You know, I understand, you know, people have needs and everything else, you know, but, you know, do it to warehouses and things, not people's homes.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I had a triple screens, so 2 of the monitors they nicked away, so I'm just back to 1 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have the police any idea?
Sorry.
Have the police any idea who it was?
So the police did turn up and they said there were a couple of burglaries around here where I live around Christmas. They said they are not sure if they can connect all of them, but it seems to be the same gang of people. And they said we are just following up on the leads. Not sure if we will be able to recover your stuff, but just keep a watch on Gumtree and other such places. I said, well.
Oh, you keep a watch, not them, no.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so what are you here for?
So did the forensics come round?
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did. They did that then.
Yeah, they did, and they picked up a footprint over here, which was about the only thing that they could pick up. And they tried to, they have this spray kind of thingy, which they sprayed on a lot of things, and they figured out that those guys were wearing some kind of warehouse gloves.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, mate.
That's all right now. It's been about 2 months now.
Yeah. It's a horrible world we live in, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And the worst bit of all was I was on holidays at my sister's place in London, and then I got a call, and it all turned so sour. I was like, crap.
Yeah.
Did it have to happen around this time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they know people are away and that, don't they?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, that's what the police also said. They might have been keeping a watch on you.
They would have been, mate.
For a couple of months, and then they probably got an idea that this guy's going to be away around Christmas.
Yeah. Did you go back to India for your holiday then?
No, I was there back in July.
Right.
So, the plan in the race is to do my normal 45 minutes.
They won't shoot you, mate. That's all I can say.
Stop for tires and fuel in 45 more minutes.
So a lot of things are done to order, you know.
Sorry?
A lot of things are done to order. you know?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
I think you've got insurance now.
Yeah, I have actually applied for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The car feels so much better with full fuel and medium tires. Like, so much better. The odd thing is, yesterday it still felt just as good on
That would be
low
really
fuel and
useful
super
to find
zones.
anyway. You always have trouble getting the bloody money back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not how you take that corner. At all. Still just... The speed with which it breaks free is what's so frustrating. It would just be so nice if you had 20 some odd people again. It's so much easier to get rubber down with that many people.
You okay, Donnie? So that she dropped out.
Yeah, I have disconnected.
It's a connection lost or something like that, did it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm just so uncertain to turn in towards the corner. I hate being uncertain on turn-in. I hate being uncertain of the car anywhere, but particularly on turn-in because there's usually no warning for issues in that area of the track. It'll just snap and you can't do anything about it. But if I can keep it under control more. Again, the lack of grip is pretty awful. Like, even if it was just 2 or 3 AI running for the full 2 hours of practice, or just running for the first, like 5 running for the first hour, just something to simulate the idea that all of us, to combine all of the laps of practice that we've all done on the track. Because I mean, if you look at live racers, how many laps total have we all done? I mean, the first 2 people alone have done over 100. The next 3, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. I don't know, somewhere around 700 laps worth of driving on the track. And only about, I don't know, 50 to 75 of those were today. Like, I feel like the track should better represent the amount of driving that's been done on it instead of just the amount of driving that's been done exactly today. I mean, because otherwise, realistically, I should be hopping into the server on a green track, setting 1 AI, coming back an hour later, and setting my car up for that track condition. And that's just, We'll see, though. I mean, again, the first race I was in when there were 20 some odd people and most of them were there for the full 2 hours of practice, it wasn't that bad. But it seems like most of the people left here are people who get their practice done beforehand, so there's not a bunch of people running in the 2-hour practice session. I mean, I personally can't because my eyes will just give up. So it's literally just not even an option for me. Because if I practice for the full 2 hours, the entire race I just won't be able to see very well at all. So I'd much rather be able to see for 3/4 of the race, and then just have a rough exit. We'll see though. I mean, I'm starting at the back. There's definitely a few people I can potentially work my way past. I just have to avoid. Unfortunately, with the lack of grip out there, I'm gonna have to really avoid.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Going to have to avoid spinning at all, which means I'll probably have to slow myself down. No, Snap It. This is a league event with REVS. There's almost never any first corner incidents. And particularly when there's only 15 people. I mean, it sounds funny saying only 15, but again, the first race I did, we had 26. And I think there were 2 minor contacts in the first corner. And one of those was not my fault, but I was involved in it. Just getting used to everything, so.
Okay, guys, good luck.
Right, before I forget,
Good luck.
Good luck,
set
everyone.
this.
How many laps we will do approximately?
Lots of
No idea. Yeah, lots and lots. Yeah, sorry, I don't know.
44 maybe, 43.
steep race.
No, mate.
All right. Now we do have a formation lap.
No. I'm here in Spain, mate.
Okay.
Well, I'm starting next to last. Oh, there's 2 people starting from the pit. Sorry. It's like I'm starting next to last. Now I don't know if it lets them come out for the formation lap or not. REVS guys tend to do a very slow formation lap, so you're not really looking at getting any heat in the tire at all. I haven't done very many practice starts, but it shouldn't be too bad. So I think I'm using medium TC. So we'll actually probably get a relatively slow getaway.
Was that a formation lap?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So I'm starting from pits.
Okay.
Wonder why John Noir is starting from the pits. He's very fast. Again, one of my main goals here is to not burn very much fuel.
Oh, it's a bit slippery.
Also, I think we'll go for safety to start with here. I'll crank that to 75. Then as we're getting closer, if it looks like I'm gonna not need as much fuel, then we can bring it back down. One of those weird things with these types of cars, when you're going really slow like this, it's actually more slippery than normal. As weird as that may sound. Put a little bit of heat in that left front at least. Won't last at all, so it doesn't really matter, but I mean, because you could see it spike up and now it's already back down. Hey, Mokaz, thank you. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Theoretically, just on pure pace, I should be able to make up about 3 or 4 spots. But that's going to depend on so many other things. It will be an interesting first corner here, though. Try to get an idea of what the car is going to feel like when I floor it. Sticks pretty well, so I think we're good. Just ease it into our box here. Boop. Now, there's 2 people starting for pits. Actually, I think Josh Johnwar, I always forget what his first name is. I think he might actually not be taking part. Because you can see Riaz is actually at the end of pit lane. Alright, here we go. Decent start from me. We're just going to lift here a little bit since it's so plugged. I've done very little side-by-side racing here, so we'll take it nice and easy. I think I'm clear on the right. Oh god! That sucks. That sucks a lot. He broke way earlier than I do. That really sucks. And in particular with the issues I've been having on braking, that's the worst thing that could have happened for me, basically. Well, at least the race isn't over, but it's that's going to make gaining any positions much harder. But by the way, that was a perfect example of what I mean on the starts, where you can see the REVS guys are... I mean, they all know how to take a start, even from the back, where you slow down a little more, you gear down, usually at least 1 gear, to make sure you're giving room on each side, because everybody's trying to funnel down. But at the same time, you're still fighting for position, so you're still trying to make stuff up. I mean, again, realistically, I couldn't blame Matthews at all for that. That's his break point. I didn't know his break point. I should have been more consciously aware of the fact that he likely would have a different point, particularly on the first lap, than I was going to have. I just wasn't thinking about it because I was thinking about the cleared space behind me and to the side of me. Then by the time I saw him brake, I had to go full brake. Now, there's probably at least some time in there that I could have saved it, but... yeah, so it looks like War just isn't taking part. That's weird.
The lap was a 2:46.75.
Might as well just turn the car off. Oh, on the bright side, we'll get a brand new shiny car. On the downside, at 88 seconds, that's going to put me way behind. And with this much time left, even if I filled it full of fuel right now, I'm not going to be able to go to the end. So there's no real reason to fill it. Again, because it happened so early, I can't even do any strategy with it. So my big hope is just that I'm probably going to need like 3 or 4 seconds per lap on a couple of these guys at the back, just to get back up to like 12th. But we'll see what we can do. As with most things, it's a very long event, so it's possible somebody else will make a mistake, maybe contact will happen. all sorts of things can happen. Now, unfortunately, I think this is going to bring me out fairly close to the leader, which is not ideal. So I might be losing a bit more time there, because everybody's going to be really close together at the front. Go ahead and fire it back up. It's so hard to tell. Sometimes the 88 seconds is like when it'll go, sometimes that's when you have to add that to the 22 and that's when it'll go. Looks like that's going to be the case. So it should be around 108 maybe. Yep, there we go. I'm one lap behind everybody but one person, so this is going to be real hard to recover from. We'll do what we can, but that's going to be real hard to recover from. The other thing I'm going to need to do is not throw it into another wall, getting all super aggressive trying to get spots back. Again, I'll see what I can do. Gotta at least try. Oh, it's just so disappointing. It's like third corner. And anytime I see yellow, that's actually good news for me. Oh, if he's in the wall, that's one person that we could potentially be fighting for position for. And he gets it all gathered up and turned back around. So we might already have a little saving grace there of some, at least one spot that we'll actually be driving for.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Again, so now that I know he's at least, I'm pretty sure he impacted the wall. If he didn't, it was very close, but either way, he's likely got some ruined tires. Then he might have to come in and change. So again, the big thing for me is just be clean. Try and be moderately quick, but mostly just be nice and clean. Still curious what happened to War. I think he had qualified. Also, I'm wondering what in the world happened to all the Corvettes that got added. There were quite a few new Corvettes in that list, but only one of them is here. This is also a pretty good example of why, personally, I'm not a huge fan of closing entry into series once it starts. Because I run into situations like this, whether it's people who have just given up, or more likely than not, just people who suddenly didn't have time, or their schedule changed, or they didn't have as much time as they thought, etc., etc. Just always seems odd. I mean, I guess I understand the whole, we want to keep the championship safe, we only want drivers we trust, etc., etc., but it still seems odd. I mean, I guess the hope is that some of the people who have exited will come back, but it's so far through now. Boy, this lap is much better than my last one. Who would have thought? That slide is exactly what I need to avoid doing. God, it's so much more slippery. Okay, now we got the position back on Donnie there. So we'll have to watch where he comes out. I'm pretty sure I'm gaining on REVS. I don't think by much, but by a little bit. Again, the downside is when I crashed, I just couldn't play any strategy. Like if it had been at least 30 minutes in, then I could have just played some strategy, filled the tank, threw on a new set of mediums and just gone to the end. And dealt with crap tires at the end of it. But I'm still gonna have to stop at some point. Now I won't have to take as much fuel at the end, because of how much time I spent in the pits. So I need to start paying attention. So at 60 liters, that gets me about 46 minutes of time. I'm going to try and mark the 45-minute fuel and the 30-minute fuel. I think I'm braking too early and turning in too early for that fast corner. Oop, that was way too much curb. Still not great at that corner. Unfortunately. Ooh, that was better. I hate braking so early for that one. It's like I'm missing out on potential speed. I'm definitely gaining on REVS. Again, I have to go all the way around to get him. But I am gaining on him slowly. But I think 12th is probably the most realistic position I'm going to be aiming for. Because it looks like there's a group of 3 or 4 that are all drafting off each other. All pushing each other to go faster and faster. That being said, it's also possible that some of these guys are on different tire compounds. So any of them that are on softs, eventually my tires will pick up a bit of pace over them. I still think my camber is probably a bit wrong, considering when the tire slides, the middle heats instead of the inside. So I probably don't have quite enough camber in it. I don't know what that L means. I wonder if that means they're not on the same lap as me. Whether that be a lap ahead or a lap behind. Ooh, Donnie must have had a lot of damage. He lost a lap to me in all of that. So he must have nosed in a pretty quick clip. That was a little better. I think I can just stay in third there. It's at the very bottom end of the gear coming out of it, but it's not a very long exit. On the downside, for a different reason than what I expected, most of this race is just going to be me doing laps. So that is the big downside.
The lap was a 2:12.47.
Oh, that's a really bad lap time. I should be in the 2:11s. Doesn't actually seem like I'm burning all that much fuel. Let's see. Got about 19 laps out of this. That's almost 40 minutes. Well, obviously a bit more when you roll the 12s in. I wonder if they would permit me to switch to the Corvette. As much as I like the Viper, the Corvette's just... I want to use that new livery so bad. I guess I probably should have done that with the other subset of people that came in. Because otherwise it'll be yet another version of the cars that have to be thrown together. And I would have to change the number on it also. Basically easier to just go into that runoff than it is to try to get the car to turn in and slide and waste a bunch of your tires. Yeah, unfortunately 11th through 8th are all pulling away from me pretty steadily. If I had been at my 2:11 pace that I had yesterday, I think I would be on pace with them or possibly pulling them in a little bit. Again, it's so frustrating to just lose that much pace overnight, basically over a second that I had in the car yesterday, that I do not have in it today. I mean, I know I've mentioned the rubber on track, it's also possible, it's just me. That's always a possibility. But without being able to immediately run again with a bunch of rubber on track, there's no easy way to test that. I guess the easiest way to test that will be to look towards the end of the race. Actually, at the start of my second stint, if I'm putting in times that are 2:11s, then it was just the rubber. If I'm still putting in 2:12s, then it's something that's changed in what I'm doing or how I'm driving or how I'm handling the car or the setup. So that'll sort of be our break point to be able to tell if it is just the lack of rubber. And if it is, then I'm just going to have to start making my setups on greasy tracks, which is not fun to do. That corner braking is just... I'm not even hitting the same top speed I was yesterday. I was consistently in the 262 range yesterday. I don't know if I'm just braking earlier in the... for the first chicane on the back straight or what. It's really odd. I mean, I guess the other possibility is I'm just not entering it as good. God. I feel like I can't turn in until the car is already going slower than it needs to go to make the corner. Which is not a good feeling to have in a car. I mean, I can visually see some rubber down on track, I just can't see anywhere near the amount I expect. Yeah, see, I'm only hitting 260 into that corner. yesterday, even on race fuel and medium tires, I was hitting 262. I guess I just barely hit 261 that time. But I'm right now still braking exactly where I need to get through the corner. Guess we'll see. As the fuel burns off also. So funny, the first 10 to 20 minutes of these races always go by really quick. And then it enters this weird, slow time period through the middle until you get to about 45-30 minutes when you come in for your pit stop. And then the last part of the race always feels super fast after that. Such a weird thing. I mean, it sort of makes sense, but it's still odd how it feels so different time-wise. We're still gaining on REVS. Just have to steadily keep taking time out of him until we come all the way back around, hopefully. We're keeping Donnie at the same distance. Which means he's also gaining on REVS, but he has to go around a whole other time. And again, as with most things, once the fuel starts burning off, the cars get lighter. And everybody's a little more tired towards the end of this. There's every possibility people will start making mistakes late. I did not mean to downshift. There's still a possibility that we might make up some extra spots late. Yeah, so I got 1 211 and then right back to the 212s. That's the other thing to consider with those top speeds, is most of those guys have gotten drafts. So that's going to increase their top speed from what it would normally be. Really don't like the way this car feels when it doesn't have grip. I mean, if we're honest, I don't like the way any car feels when it doesn't have grip. But this Viper in particular, I mean, it's tough to get this thing to turn in the first place without over-rotating, which is one of the reasons I have the front so stiff. But it's just once it starts to rotate, it's so hard to bring it back. Also, I totally forgot to ask Kevin about his setup last time. Although it seemed like he just had a stiffer setup at the rear and a softer setup at the front than I did, but I forgot to actually ask. To see if he'd give me a peek at it. I wonder if Wara is just watching this one. Well, no, he's out on track now, because, well, maybe. I was going to say, because I'm not gaining on him still, but I actually am still. So I think he is in the pits. No, I just noticed I am starting to gain on a couple of the guys directly ahead now. Van Oak and Matthews. Oh, never mind. It's just part of that section I was gaining on them in the late. As I go through the end of that, the gap extends again.
The lap was a 2:12.85.
Like, this is one of those weird situations I've just never found myself in before. Of a car feeling so different the next day. Like, I've had a car feel different multiple days between, particularly when I did testing on my own and then the weather conditions were vastly different. But I don't think I've ever had a setup feel this different the exact next day. I feel like I get through this sequence really well, but I always seem to actually lose time through it compared with the drivers around me. Oddly enough, I still actually get understeer through that fast corner at the end of the straight there. I mean, maybe it's as simple as I literally still have too much downforce on somehow. Maybe it's as simple as that. Although again, the fact that it's snapping from the rear makes me think I probably should have just tossed one or two clicks on it. Or taken one off the front. But by the time I realized it felt so different, it was a little too late. Well, I should say by the time I realized it wasn't going to come back to me at all, it was too late.
The lap was a
Because I realized it felt different almost immediately.
2:77.
I figured with people putting rubber down, it would come right back to where it was. Hey, monkey. Still gaining on REVS, but not making the big jumps I was before. Again, I think I probably need to consistently get the 211s to really have a shot at actually being able to overtake him by the end of this. Because it's been 18-ish minutes, and I've only managed to knock 20 seconds off. So if I do a second a minute, that is not going to be enough time off of that gap by the end to actually get 12th. It's going to put me about 20 seconds short. Well, I was 3/10 up in the first sector that time. Alright, so it looks like about 37 liters will give me 30 minutes. It's going to be very important to see. So it was about 60 liters for 45. That was awful. My brain was on numbers instead of what corner I was in. That's why it'd be super nice to just have a race engineer. Alright, so it was about 60 liters for 45 minutes. 37, 38, we'll just call it 40 to be safe, for 30 minutes. Which means it should be around 20 liters for 15 minutes. So basically we're either going to put in 2, 4, or 6 when we stop. Just depends on how much time is left when we get to that point. I might just throw on soft tires for last stint too. I feel like I've got to try something, because that'll at least account for some of the lost rubber. I think that's one of the main reasons the medium felt so good yesterday, because there was so much rubber down on the track. The medium probably, I would assume the medium gains more from that than the softer compounds do. But before I commit myself to that, I want to see what the car feels like when we actually get to around the 45-minute mark. So we're 1/3 of the way through. Oh, Riaz either made a mistake or he's in the pits. I think he just made a mistake. Yeah, that was good through that corner for once. That felt really good out of that corner. It's such an important exit to get right. And then this corner is just frustrating. It doesn't seem all that important, but it actually ends up being pretty important. Because you need to leave yourself on the left-hand side. Get the best exit you can out of there. It's such a long straight shot. That's a better lap. That's a much better lap. That's about the time I should be doing. That's about the time I should have been doing the entire time up to this point. The most dangerous thing about switching tire compounds is just going to be I haven't done very much practice on the softs. Almost all of my practice has been on the mediums because they just felt so good. And the way they felt over their tire life was so solid. Again, with those few mistakes Riaz has made, or just me gaining more in that lap, one or the other, or probably more than likely a bit of both, it seems like I'm in a better position to catch him by the end now. 1.6, that's really bad. That level of inconsistency is awful. Put in my fastest lap and then in just 2 sectors, being 1.6 off of that pace the next lap. I really need a new cushion for the seat or something. And after about a half an hour, my butt starts being like, hey, you should really not sit here anymore. Yeah, 1:12.8, so I didn't pick up any extra time in that last sector, really. I got over 20 minutes before we need to pit. See, that's going to put me right around 30. It's going to be close on what to do for fuel. Unfortunately, the other guys, 11th and on, are all still gaining time over me. That's about the best I've hit that corner all race. Finding that secondary point to make the car cut is pretty tricky. That long right. There's a lot of corners around here that are deceptively tough. Like they seem like they'd be easy enough, but then to carry actual speed through them gets very tricky. Taking too much of that curb. Alright, that was a good finish to that lap. If I can just eliminate the 1.7 second off-pace lap between the two 11s, then we might be in business. So I have to kind of figure out how to eliminate those other ones. The fact that I'm losing 1.7 seconds to the leaders, or to the fastest lap in that first sector alone, is pretty insane. Hey, my fastest is up to 262 now. My top speed, I should say. So I'm entering that other corner a bit better. Or at least a bit later than I had been previously. That was good through there. Way too wide there, I don't even know why. That's so dumb. Well, that's gonna scrub off quite a bit of speed. That's a better apex clip. Oh! Until I shift and almost lose it. Still decent. I lost 3.5 tenths in that last sector though. Which is definitely not great. That is the leader behind me and he is catching me, but it's not close enough to really bother with thinking about how to let him past yet. I still genuinely do not understand why the car feels so different under braking than it did yesterday. Now, the leader will likely have a hard time passing me through this section because his top speed is so much lower. So I will actually probably pull away from him here. Yep. So I'll have to find a good spot to really let him by that's not going to sacrifice my race too much. Probably into this corner would be a decent spot to do it. So you can sweep around on the inside, and I can just cut it back into it. And not lose too much time. Yeah, that was a big lockup from him. Wow, he's got a huge lead. I can't even see second place on my map. That is insane.
The lap was a 2:11.76.
Still in the 2:11s, even letting him by. That's not the worst thing in the world. Although the brakes on this thing are close to the worst thing in the world. God. Now we are getting close to pit stop time for a lot of people. It's looking like about 45 liters is probably how much I'm going to end up putting in. Go ahead and switch to this so we can get that started. Now if it ends up only being about a 30-minute stint at the end, then we can definitely go to softs. I'm going to leave it on mediums for now. We might be able to go to softs. I mean, the mediums will 100% be decent. But you can tell, I mean, even after almost half the distance, mediums still feel about as good as they did at the start. I really need to start eliminating these terrible laps in the middle. Did like 3 2:11s in a row. Now this is going to be a 2:12 or a 2:13. Hey, Brussels. Not too great. Better than the CMS race went, because I didn't have to park it from penalties, but I still threw it into a wall in the first lap. I was trying to brake behind Matthews, and I just didn't know his brake point, and I didn't even consider that his brake point would be different from mine. And he broke much earlier than I expected, and that caused me to have to get on the brakes, and my car feels really crappy on the brakes today for some reason. It felt so good yesterday, and it feels so bad today. Like, it feels great everywhere except under braking. For whatever reason today, on the brakes, it wants to slide everywhere under braking. And it makes it so tough. On the bright side, there's at least one position I can potentially get, which is REVS ahead of me. No, the weather's the same. The only thing that's different is there's less rubber down, and I won't really know if that's the cause of it unless towards the end of the race the car suddenly feels much, much better. If at the end of the race the car feels significantly better under braking, then I'll know for a fact it was just the lack of rubber. But that's the only thing that should be different. Unless somehow the weather got changed and I didn't notice. But that really shouldn't affect the brakes. Because the brakes are still at a very good temperature range. They're a tiny bit lower than I would love, but they're not cold by any stretch of the imagination. It's not like I'm entering with 80C brakes or anything. More than anything, it feels like It just feels like an overall lack of grip that's causing the most problems on braking. Because even on throttle in a couple places, it's a little trickier than it was before. As if to prove my point. So not an absolutely terrible race, but definitely not a good race. But again, at least we have something to fight for here. We're trying to pick up 12th. The worst case scenario would be if we made that mistake early, and then a bunch of people quit, or we had no way to make that position back up. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to let Kevin by here. And with as tricky as my car is, so he should be able to get by me here on this straightaway. I would assume. Or not. This is a really slow corner, so I'll just let it by there. I think he was expecting me to let him by at the other slow corner, but I didn't think he'd shoot up to me like he did. And I was already committed to the line I had chosen, so I couldn't really back out of it at that point, unfortunately. Well, not without drastically slamming the brakes. Potentially really ruining my tires. I mean, you can see the difference with how I have to enter the corner compared with how he enters it there. He's able to enter it much wider and then bring it back in. Whereas if I try and do that in any corner, that's exactly what happens. So I'm having to straighten off a lot of these corners. Yeah, the fact that it's not getting any better is the weirdest thing. Like, again, the fact that the brakes still feel terrible this far in makes me think that it's not the brakes themselves. But I don't know what could make it feel this way. Again, without being able to see what weather exactly I was running on yesterday, I don't have any good way to really know. Yeah, in RFactor, it's sort of core heat. It's sort of outer edge core heat. So the tires are never as hot. They'll never register the super hot temperatures that you sort of expect. What you're really looking for in RFactor is those mid-corner temperatures more than anything. My car is good out of the corners and in a straight line. I mean, even this person who's in third can't really catch me. So if I had been in a race with anybody, it probably would have been alright. It's another corner where it's alright to let people by. So it doesn't cost me all that much time because I can just cut back here. But again, the fact that I can't, I just literally cannot push the car into the corner at all is really what's costing me more time than anything. Now I'm back to 213s. Part of that is because I'm having to let people by, but more than that, it's also because of my inconsistency with this setup. By the way, I'm trying something. I mean, it's also a place where I can, since I'm so far out of contention for everything other than 12, it's also a race where I can start trying something. So I'm acting a bit different under blue flags than I would in the past. With people I don't know, I'd still likely just pull completely out of the way. But with these drivers that I trust very well, I'm much more willing to try and let them pass in corners where it's going to affect my race and their race as little as possible. Which is why you don't see me pulling off on the straight like I have in the past. Because it's one thing that I tend to lose way too much time in letting other drivers pass under blue flag, so it's something I sort of need to try and find a way to still be nice about it, but not destroy my lap in doing it. There's a battle behind me. So for this battle I might have no choice but to pull off, but we'll see. So I got about 5 minutes. I'm still not sure what I want to do tire-wise. Put in a bit more fuel though, because we're not going to get down to the actual 30-minute set. So I want to just be sure that I have enough fuel in it. God, right there, that's probably where it's the worst. When it just slides out from me. I mean, because I can't catch it, I just have to try and burn through the corner that way. Now again, in this situation I will likely just lift, because there's 3 of them all in a row. And if I try and take this corner up here, it's just not going to be good news. And one of those is the Corvette in the back is actually the person who will become the leader when everybody pits. So he's probably not happy about how his strategy is playing out right now, since he's behind these guys. I think I'm just going to go back on another set of mediums. Actually, yeah. Ah, screw it. We're going to be right around 30 minutes. We're going to go on softs. This has been almost an hour on these tires, and they're only at 80. So the soft should easily do 30 minutes. Yeah, I've made my decision. We're going on softs. I'm hoping that will at least help some of the lack of grip. Now we do have enough fuel to go around one more time, so we're going to go ahead and do it. I want this pit stop to be as late as possible. Unfortunately, my gap to REVS is pretty much stagnated since I've been putting in these terrible laps. With all these minor mistakes and having to let people by. Alright, so the pit stop is set. We can move it off of that. So we'll see. Now that it'll be interesting to see if that gives me any more or less of an advantage on REVS ahead of me. Now I just have to remember to pit, because I don't have enough fuel to go around another time. So if I miss my pit, I would have to do intense fuel saving just to get it back around again. It is interesting though. I only put about 50 minutes worth of fuel in to start with. So the fact that, I mean, I did have a minute and a half's worth of pit stops at the start, but the fact that that's stretched all the way to almost an hour is very interesting. I wonder if you threw a full tank at it at the start and went on mediums, if you could go far enough into the race to just do like a super quick sprint on super softs right at the end. Seems like the fuel just lasts in these. Alright, I need to remember pit, pit, pit. Or box, box, box. Whichever nomenclature you prefer.
That was a 2:18.5.
Whew, that was a crappy lap too. Again, the fact that I am capable of 2:11s, but I'm doing 2:13s is also not good. This is the URD GTE Dodge Viper. I think they call it the Venom, but it's effectively the GTE Viper. No, the pit entry, the pit entry for the RFactor 2 version is not at the same spot as it is for the race room version. That took me a little bit of getting used to also, Brussels. The RFactor version has a much shorter pit lane than race room does. Now Bellafronte is, I am fighting him for position sort of, but I have a lap on him. So he still has to go all the way back around to get ahead of me. And he crashed on the second lap, so I'm pretty sure he has to pit as well. Although if he's been really saving fuel, he might not have to. But again, his pace has been almost identical to mine in terms of lap times, so I don't think he's been saving fuel at all. So now it's all about where REVS comes out, where we are in relation to that. We have more than enough fuel. Wow, I actually put way too much fuel in. 40 actually might have been alright. That actually surprises me. I really need to feel these out though. All of my practice effectively was on medium tires, so I need a few laps to feel out these softs. Really feel any grip difference. They actually feel almost the same, as odd as that sounds. That corner they feel much different. Car still wants to over-rotate on entry and braking. It's also worth noting, my diff coast is at like 70%, and my diff and my brake balance is at 60%, 60-40. So it's not like I have it set up to oversteer on entry at all, which is like I said, that's the weirdest thing about how it's been behaving this entire session. Alright, let's see what we can do on soft tires here. I really need to put in some good laps now, because I'm not going to burn off anywhere near as much fuel as I need to, considering how much extra I put in. I didn't think I was putting in any extra. let's see. I would expect to be up in this sector, even with this amount of fuel in. Nope, that's not good. I basically need to be putting in 211s now already, so that as the fuel starts burning off, it's even more of an advantage. Because Riaz's pit stop is likely going to be shorter than mine was. Because he's not even going to have to put in that much fuel, if he's even changing tires. There's still time, but the last 30 minutes goes a lot faster than the first 60. At least that's how it feels in the car. That was so weird. In my rearview mirror for a split second, when I passed that bollard at the apex, I thought for sure it was a car right behind me. Like, my brain freaked out for a second. Alright, 210, that's good. That's much better than I expected for considering how much time I lost in the first sector. Basically, I just need to safely put in some good laps here, which is always a tough proposition. Hey, go really fast, but also don't crash and don't burn the tires. But go really fast. Ugh. Then right after this, I basically have to spend the rest of the stream doing practice for tomorrow's GT3 race, which I've done 0 practice for. And considering how well the last one went, I really want to put a lot of effort into this one also. Really dial in a setup for that. Ugh. But my booty is not happy. Now, if I can actually get up to Donnie and get a draft from him, that'll be helpful also. That felt perfect through there. Holy cow. Man. I really think it is just a lack of rubber. I wish I would have thought to have just thrown softs on at the start. I think that would have helped immensely. Because the car feels really, really good on softs right now.
That was a 209.
As is evidenced by that. Now again, the longer we go with Riaz not pitting, the tougher it becomes for me to actually get by him. And one of the big reasons for that is because his fuel fill becomes shorter and shorter. And the likelihood that he changes tires becomes less and less. Now that does mean he will likely come out with very worn tires. Donnie's having trouble with that Corvette. That's actually not a bad place to let somebody by. It's an interesting spot to do it, but it's not a bad place to do it. Oh, he is in the pits. Yeah, I don't think Donnie gets very much time for setups. And he's also inconsistent like I am. Consistency is one of the hardest things in racing to really get dialed in again and again. Oh, this is way too slow of a lap. Speaking of consistency or lack thereof. But yeah, by this point in the race, there's finally enough rubber down on track. It's also possible, I mean, he's been out on track for a long time, so if he took softs when he came in on lap 2, then it's very possible that his tires are just almost gone. Yeah, unfortunately the gap is actually bigger than what it was when I went into the pits to REVS. I still have 24 minutes, but that means I need to be picking up at least 2 seconds per lap on him. Now the fact that his pit stop was that short means he definitely didn't take tires, which means no matter what tire he's on, he is going to be struggling. Unfortunately, I'm overheating my front left quite a bit into that corner. One of those weird things where you get extra grip from putting on a softer compound, but many times it can make the car feel different in a lot of corners. That's much better. See, I think one of the reasons Donnie was all over the track was I think he was just really worried about how fast I was going to catch him, where I was going to catch him, and whatnot. Because now that I've gotten by him, he's not going nearly as wide in basically any corners. He's also thinking about his pit stop sometime soon. Because again, he had to come in on lap 2, so there's no way he has enough fuel for the rest either. So I'll have to at least come in for a splash at some point. Still don't have the grip under braking, but the fact that the car feels so much better now than it did at the start and on these softs pretty much confirms it's just the complete and utter lack of rubber on the track. The other thing is, realistically, I need to catch REVS with about 4 minutes left. So really, I need to be gaining more than I am. 210 might be enough. I think it's going to end up being pretty close if I can keep this pace up and if he doesn't suddenly find pace. My exit from there is very important because my car is good in a straight line. So I need to maximize this straight, the other straight, and the main straight as much as possible. Without getting too crazy, the car almost slid sideways there. That is disastrous in that braking zone. Oddly enough, I'm not even hitting 6th there. Oh, that was bad. I didn't scrub off enough speed because I wasn't going the speed I expected to be going. That's probably one of my toughest braking zones in this car. Because what you really want to do is brake kind of easy. Sort of like that corner where you just want to take a wider entry, brake a little bit easy, and then tuck it back in. But unfortunately with how unsteady my car is on brakes, I can't do that. I have to try and brake in a straight line. I think that was only like 3 seconds off. Need to be gaining more than that. Ah! I was actually doing really good catching him at the beginning of the race, and then it started evening out as I got closer and closer to my pit stop. So either he found pace, or more likely I lost it. Oh, car, come on. If I lose time to him, that's just disastrous. Oh, oh, that was not good from Donnie. Whew, I'm glad I got through there. Holy cow. I felt that crunch in my rearview mirror. Whew. That's the same spot he ran into an issue with on the second lap. So he was pushing that braking zone real hard. Yeah, see, 1.4 off. This is such a bad lap. I'm still probably going to gain a second, but it's, again, a second is not enough. Ah! Alright. Gotta relax a bit, reel it in, just do what I do. The 211 is way too bad. I know I'm capable of 209s on these tires. Although that front left is actually wearing really fast. I think mostly because there's a couple corners I'm really burning it. That on the mediums, you don't really have to worry about it. You can just let it do its thing, but you have to lift a little bit more. These softs. I don't think I'm gonna catch him. Well, we're still gonna give it everything we have. But I do not think I'm going to catch him in time. And I think that's mostly because of my first stint, more than anything. Where it just wasn't fast enough. And we still have 17 minutes, you never know, anything could happen. I'm not holding out too much hope at this point, because that was awful. Such a bad corner. Those two corners in succession really rip a lot out of that front left. Yeah, I'm not actually battling Van Oof for position though. But unfortunately, if he keeps backing up towards me, I'm gonna need to try to get by him. Yeah, see, that's still, I'm going way too slow for some reason. Just losing time in every sector now. It's very possible I may have just burned through these softs too fast by trying to really push instead of giving them a little bit of time to heat up and bed in. And then going for it. Again, I did so little practice with them, it's very possible that's what they want for this track. see what happens with Van Oak here, though. But again, I mean, this is the second lap in a row. I really need the gap to be around 30 seconds right now. It's still at 35. I mean, if I could just somehow put in some monster laps right in a row, then maybe. But again, my front left is just not, it's not digging into the track at all anymore. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, it says 87%, that feels pretty accurate. I feel like I've really burned it a lot more than I should have. Like, that is a much better way to take that corner, so it doesn't really destroy that tire. This is not ideal. Because you want to lean on the tire, you have to for a couple of those corners, but you don't want to lean it on it so much that the tire overheats and then just starts to slide and slide and slide, which not only rips wear out of it, but also, most importantly, rips life out of a certain part of it, so it's not really even anymore. I think this is actually a manual. Yeah, it is. I thought this was Van Oak.
That was a 2:09.36.
I think I'm just gonna run out of time. Basically, I needed to be putting these laps in consistently at the end of my first stint to sort of counter his short fill and short stint, or short pit stop. Or if I had not changed tires. Although if I hadn't changed tires, I wouldn't be putting in 209s. I would be in the 211s and 212s. So I think this was still my best attempt at it. I think I'm just, one, not consistent enough around here, and my setup is not happy around here. And I burned off that front left real hard. But again, we'll see. Anything can happen. It's racing, you never know until that checkered flag flies. That's a much better entry for that corner. I'd run a little bit out, tuck it right back in. I don't really want to race him because, I mean, I guess he's not really racing anybody ahead of him. He's a quarter of a lap behind the next closest driver. But there also shouldn't really be any expectation that he lets me by. That makes sense. Alright, we got that done. Again, it's still at 30 seconds, and I've got 4 less minutes on. I think the biggest detriment for me is that Riaz found his pace towards the middle of the race, and I just stopped gaining on him. I just, I don't see it happening, but I want it to happen so badly. The most frustrating thing about this whole race is just that I threw it away right at the beginning. That's easily the most frustrating part of it. I mean, because I don't do that very often. So it just hurts so much more when it does happen. This is not going to be a very good lap. Already 8/10ths down. See if I can lose less in this last sector. None of the 4 tires feel as good as they should. None of them feel bad by any stretch of the imagination, but they don't feel as good as I really need them to be. Still a 209. Actually gained time on that lap in that last sector. I have to give it so much steering for that tight corner. It's almost down to 20 seconds. He's trying to give me hope here. That's the worst part. He's trying to give me hope. Now I have to avoid pushing too hard. I have to keep trying to be on pace without pushing excessively. Because again, I need to make sure I don't destroy that left front, or I won't have anything if I do catch him to try and pass him. Because that's the other thing. I can't just get that gap to 0. I need to get that gap to a positive number behind me. I actually need to make up a bit more time than what the gap is at. But again, catching up to somebody and getting by them are two very, very different things. A little slide from the right front there. I mean, at this point, most of the drivers will be struggling with their tires, so that's definitely part of the equation. I mean, you can even see with Emmanuel, I just pulled away from him like he's sitting still these last few laps. Whereas up to this point, he's been very consistently ahead of me on track, putting in better times than I have. So you can see how much of a difference tires really make at the end of a race here. I think a lot of drivers, particularly in endurance events online, I think a lot of drivers really undervalue good, fresh tires at the end of a race. Particularly for the guys who are like in really good rhythms already, slapping on a set of even better tires can just really help them knock out amazing times. That being said, Kevin did a 2:04.4. I think he changed his tires at his pit stop though. Oh, come on. Ugh. Car does not want to turn there anymore. These two corners are easily my worst two on the track right now. Because that left front just doesn't... It starts to dig and then it just really overheats instead. Oh, this is an ugly lap. 1.5. Okay. Rears are starting to go a little bit too. Ugh, I gained almost nothing that lap.
The lap was a 2.96.
Come on! Five minutes left. Basically 2 laps. I think our speed differential is mostly equalized at this point. Because this is the part of the track where the gap comes down and it's not coming down at the same rate as it was before. Although if I start putting in personal bests, that'll help. Braking too early there still. Come on, car! You can do it! Big thing here is slowing down enough on entry that I can accelerate out. Then I overheat the tire big time there, so I have to account for that on the exit. Luckily, the next 2 corners heat up the right front instead. Oh no, I lost time in the middle sector. I could probably say that on almost every single lap this race. I've not been getting that sector well at all. Alright, we definitely knocked a lot of time off that lap. Now we have enough time to get around and then around again. So we actually have 2 laps from now.
6, 7.
For me anyway. No idea where the leader is. Oh, I don't know why I hit the brake there. Oh! If I can get him in my view, I might be able to start getting pressure on him. Then he might make a mistake. This Viper is real intimidating to see in your mirror, even if it's pretty far back. Oh, come on! It's right there! It's right there, somewhere, in that space up there. Oh, that was such a bad first sector. Wow, that was a terrible first sector. It's not going to help my cause at all. Yeah, it's a 70. I can't care about it anymore, unfortunately. I just have to use it as hard as I can. Again, these are the 2 corners where it matters the most. It's gonna be slow through these 2 corners. I don't think I can knock off 10 seconds in a lap. I really don't. I mean, I don't care about my tires at this point. If I slide, I slide, as long as it's fast. Because I just need to do 1 more lap. I actually didn't get my fuel as wrong as I thought I did, and that's mostly because I've just been pushing so hard. I don't know if he'll...
That was a 2:10.9.
I don't know if he'll catch me, though. I mean, I really hope he doesn't, but we'll see. If he catches me, then that's not great. If he catches me and Riaz, then that's alright. I am visibly closer this time, not by a ton, but by a little bit. Oh, that left front just doesn't want to do it anymore. I could hear the left front screaming, "Kill me!" It would require a mistake from him at this point. This is 100% going to be the last lap. And I know that because the leader is right behind me. Although, actually, I guess with where the leader is, does that mean I get another lap? I'm not sure how endurance rules work for RFactor 2. I think I might get another lap. But again, I'm not gaining anywhere near what I was earlier. One of the big reasons for that is the left front's it's just done. It just doesn't want to be a tire anymore. Ah! And it doesn't matter anyway. That's a perfect example of how it felt the entire race under braking. I was just having to control it more or less. It wanted to do that every single time I went near the pedal. I mean, you can imagine how frustrating that is to drive with. But now the race is over, yeah. Oh well. Oh well. I pushed as hard as I could all the way till the end there. And yeah, REVS is still going, so I would have gotten another lap at it. Ah. Oh, Donnie actually broke his suspension. Oh, that sucks. Again, the biggest, in all honesty, the biggest reason I didn't catch him was right down here. Where was my pit stop? This was likely my pit stop. So basically this section right down here. So my pit stop is the last lap on this list right now, that 257. So the 18, the 14, 12, 11, 12, 13, I mean all of these laps are very bad. The 11.5 is okay. But every single lap around that is very, very poor. Really, I needed to consistently be in the 210s, which I wasn't hitting till down here. Let's see, what laps was he putting in? Ah. If I had had more consistency, I would have had him. I had him on pace the entire time. The only things, just like I said, if I was in the 211s the entire race, I would have gained at least a second every single lap except this one. All I needed to do was be consistent.
Thank you.
Oh. It still ended up being an interesting race, though, regardless. Trying to fight back from that is always an interesting prospect. I think there's still a couple people finishing, it looks like. I can't really call it fun. It's an interesting race. That's for sure. Ugh, I just wish. Ugh. it would have been a really interesting race if I hadn't thrown it into the wall.
Try a Ferrari.
Or John Broadmeadow, Conrad Venter. People in here would be no, that's you, Sergio.
Yeah.
Nobody else in here drove Ferrari.
No one. It just seems too
Frayed
wobbly to me,
tires.
and too much of weight transfer.
Right.
Why would he do?
I'm going to be back in a few minutes.
Come here.
Yeah, well, Rustler was talking about that yesterday. Not only that, they were actually Lamborghini themselves were given a $25,000 fine, and all of their
Thing
manufacturer
was, I tried to
points
stiffen it up.
were taken away.
When you get understeer.
Yeah, it'd be great to see another face in here, Rustler or Brussels. Oh.
Ouch.
Pace-wise, I think I was probably about 9th or 10th. Ah, it's disappointing. All right, before I watch the replay, I have to use the restroom so badly. I'm gonna mute TeamSpeak just in case.
Sound muted.
There we go. Yeah, I do know that about Emmanuel. Anyway, I need to use the restroom really badly. So I'm gonna let this load up. I want to check out a few things, but I have to go so bad, so I'll be right back. The thing is, I do urinate before the races. However, I drink a lot of water during the race. Yeah, this is such a fun track. So this should be the warm-up lap, right? Formation lap? Yeah, it is. So for any of you guys who missed it, you'll be able to see my major mistake, which is right at the beginning. It was such a silly thing, but it is what it is. Let's just say it felt like I basically just released the entire cup that I drank during the race. It was nice. Ah. I actually stopped a little too far back. Well, not too far back, but a little further back. Oh! Roger was having issues getting into his spot correctly. Whoa, and then it popped Emmanuel forward really oddly. So I actually got a pretty good start. Right here, I had to start lifting a little bit, because it's just, I mean, it's like 3 and 4 wide in front of me. I don't want to make it even worse. Get on the brakes nice and early, funnel down, extra gear off. Almost picked off Matthews there, but he was able to get out of the corner a little bit better. And then I was nice and clear. Here is where my race should start. I should be like, we're free and clear, we're good to go. But unfortunately, so my braking point for this corner is about, I mean, it ended up having to be right at where the curb starts. But at this point in the race, it was close to that 50-meter board. So you can imagine when I see his brakes here at almost the 100-meter board, my brain instantly goes, oh balls. And my reaction time is awful, but I do slam on the brakes. I mean, you can see me literally go from full gas to, oh god, full brake. And shifting down through the gears to try to get some engine braking out of it too. I managed to avoid hitting him, but right here, the car's already starting to slide. And I'm along for the ride at this point. Now what I could have done is I could have steered really hard to the right, slammed the gas, and then hit the brakes again to try to get the rear end, to get it sideways and really slide. But that's also really dangerous for all of these people. I don't know why I let off the gas there. Oh, because I was trying to see if it would cut and turn, which it never did. So as you would imagine, that's a lot of damage. I didn't realize that was that close. That was not very good of me. By the way, you can also see right here, you can see it in the onboard, but my car is very stiff at the front. So realistically, my setup wasn't all that great around here. But that's effectively how it started. The damage wasn't that bad, but it took 88 seconds to repair it, which is not good. Now I want to see what happened to Donnie, because the second lap he throws it into the wall, or it might have been the third lap. But I happened to come up upon that corner and he was just stuck in the wall. So I'm curious what happened with him. But yeah, I mean, you got to think for an impact like that, it's a slight. I mean, in a real race, my race would be over. But just in terms of games, that's radiator damage, body damage, suspension damage, like all suspension damage, anti-roll bar damage. Like there's so much important stuff at the front end of these cars. So yeah, it was the third lap. Donnie did not seem like he was really gelling with his setup at all, unfortunately. It seems like he almost had the opposite issue that I did, where I had just endless amounts of oversteer, and he had just crap tons of understeer. It's Brussels, you came to that conclusion exactly the same point I did. The impact wouldn't have looked too bad because I had it in slow motion. I'll show you in full speed in a second. Oh, he just didn't get it slowed down in time. Oh, that's a rough barrier. I guess it's probably the angle at which he hit it. Yeah. So he sort of went into it instead. That was likely a ton of damage. But here, I can show you mine again at full speed, because I had it at not full speed, which makes it look less impactful. Yeah, RFactor 2 definitely does not have the best collisions. Actually, between cars, the collisions aren't bad, but between objects, it's not too great. So you can see at speed, it's much more of an impact. If I had made the right decision and just laid into the brake pedal, it probably. If I had just laid into the brake pedal, I might have just lost my hood and been able to actually continue on. So the fact that I lift here is actually really bad. I understand in my own mind, I understand what I was trying to do. I'm trying to get it to turn to the right, turn to the right, turn to the right, turn to the right. But it's... with so little space, it probably would have been better to just stay on. I mean, what speed am I going when I actually impact the wall? I mean, that's 90 kilometers an hour. What speed is that? Like, it's... Again, because you're on a racetrack, it might not look that bad, but it's actually... It's actually a pretty... I mean, that's a 56 mile an hour impact. That's pretty bad. Like, again, it doesn't... Because you're so used to seeing these cars go fast, it doesn't really feel that bad. Man, I'm probably going to have to apologize to whoever this is. That was awful of me. Is that Sergio? Yeah, I'm going to have to apologize in the after race thing for that. That was a really crappy rejoin by me. Oh. What do you mean you never see what you see? You just mean you don't bother going back and looking? Because again, it's not necessarily fun looking at your own mistakes, but it's definitely useful. I mean, it's incredibly useful. I don't think there were really any other happenings except at the end when Donnie accidentally tossed it in the wall again. Again, with the amount of understeer he was dealing with, it makes sense that he would have problems here. I want to see what this looks like here, though. I think he just missed his break point. He didn't miss it by much. Oh my word. That was so much closer than I thought it was. I saw him at the last possible set. I didn't see him in my mirror until right here. I didn't even recognize that he was out of control. Holy cow. And these barriers in particular are really not great. It looks like the collision for them isn't very good. They probably should have made those barriers bigger in terms of the actual collision that they have. Now, what I mean by that is, just so that it doesn't get misunderstood. So I don't mean that the collision should come out further on this side. Basically, I mean the collision on the rear side should probably go out to about 4 or 5 times the width of it. And basically what that does is that allows the game to more easily detect when you're already in it. Because it's easier to detect when you're in something as opposed to when you've already gone through it. And once you've already gone through something, the game will tend to want to throw you completely out of it immediately. Whereas if you're just inside of it, it will try and just move you out of it, if that makes sense. So for instance, let's say this is the barrier, this is the car. If I'm all the way through it already, then the game wants to instantly throw me outside of it. So it wants to go boom and snap me to this point as quick as possible. But if the barrier is like this and I'm just inside of it, the game wants to slowly move me out. If that makes sense. Now, I say that not knowing any intricacies to their actual collision physics, but in general, in broad general terms, with the way collisions work, this is going to look hilarious, by the way. That's amazing. And I just continue on. I'm like, boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo. Oh. It's really unfortunate it doesn't save lap times, but it's alright. Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying, Brussels, yeah. So for instance, like if I were to go to some of these last laps and look at some of the corners on the back end of the track, you could definitely see the understeer. Or like this, actually it's something, honestly it's something I should have done, because right here, inside the car, this bouncing didn't feel all that bad, but looking on the outside of the car, it's evident it's really bad. And I should have adjusted out for that. So realistically, the front, so I mean you can visually see my car is not happy to go around any of these bumps. So realistically, I probably needed to just soften the front and then throw a little more downforce on it to account for the extra oversteer that I would get from the front end. It also helps explain a little bit why, and right there it's doing it again, why my setup was so reliant on rubber on the track. Because when it's really stiff like that, the rubber's going to help it. I mean, every time it bounces, it's going to land back on the track. And it's not going to want to bounce as much when there's that layer of rubber on rubber instead of rubber on asphalt. And then these were the softs where it was just, that front left was gone. But yeah, it's also something in practice that I personally need to do a bit more of. Is actually looking at the replays and seeing how the car is physically behaving regardless of what it looks like and feels like from the inside. Because oftentimes you can see things that you don't notice from the outside. But it's really hard to remember to do it, so both. The front end was just stiff all around. The dampers, the springs, and the roll bar. What actually, in all honesty, what would have made more sense for this track is softening the front springs and dampers a little bit, stiffening the rear springs a little bit, but softening the dampers at the same time, and then stiffening both roll bars even more. So I would stiffen the rear by about 20% and the front by about 5%. And what that actually does, because there's so many changes of directions on this track, having stiff roll bars makes it want to change directions nicely, but the softer suspension allows it to land in and out of the corners, and it allows it to handle the bumps quite better. Although, this is very interesting, so watch here for a second. One good thing to note is, from this view, my car doesn't look as bad, particularly when I go over that curb. So that curb is a curb I actually probably should have been using the entire race, because my car was much more steady when I split that curb and went over that bumpy area as opposed to driving through it. So my car looked much more planted. So even something like that, but also, more than anything, I was trying to point out that viewing from a different angle may not give you the same thing. It's why if I'm actually wanting to see how my car is doing, I'll probably always use this view. It's not the prettiest view, but it's the easiest one to see what your car is physically doing from. And it's one of the best ones to see where you're locking up tires. Because I find it really hard for whatever reason, I find it really hard in RFactor 2 to feel when the tire is locking up. Hey, Steve-O. And I find it pretty hard to see when the tire is locking up, unless it really, really locks for an extended period of time. But just like the very small lockups, I have a really hard time feeling out. So I've noticed there's quite a few cars that I will do that without even realizing it. Like there'll be corners where I'm locking up every single lap after lap after lap without even realizing it. So it's another thing that this view can really help with. Actually, realistically, it looks like I didn't necessarily need to change my setup. I needed to find the areas of the track that didn't have bumps. So when I'm not going over the bumps, the car looks great. But when I'm going over the actual bumps, it looks awful. So I think more than changing the setup, I probably just needed to find the non-bumpy areas. It was it was interesting, we'll say. I binned it at the start and then had to try to fight my way back for 12th. Couldn't quite get there. No, the ride height would generate way too much oversteer, which I was already struggling with. And increasing your ride height, if you don't change your spring stiffness in any way, will usually result in some pretty awkward situations. It's like, again, there's always exceptions, but in very broad general terms, the lower your ride height, the stiffer you want the suspension, the higher the ride height, the softer you want it. I mean, it makes sense, because the lower the ride height is, you need less suspension travel, so you want the suspension to sort of do less work. Because if you have a really low ride height and really soft suspension, you're going to be bottoming out all the time. You're going to be hitting the bump stops all the time, and you're going to be basically bottoming the car out into a lot of the corners. Whereas, conversely, if you have a really high ride height and really stiff suspension, then you're just not using the amount of travel that you have. Gotta check a message real quick. Bump and rebound would be better for what? I don't remember what I was actually mentioning. I'll have to check that later. Oh, for riding curbs. I mean, if you really want to utilize curbs, you'll want, again, as with all things, broad generalizations. I mean, just run, in your mind, run through what the car does when it hits a curb, and it will sort of make sense. I'm 100%, I'm not being pandering at all. I'm just walking you through the process that I would take anyway when thinking about it. So you think about when you first strike a curb, it's the suspension compresses incredibly, and then it immediately uncompresses as the car basically goes whoop. So let's say the curb is here, the car is here. Obviously this is an extreme example, but you hit that curb, boom, the suspension compresses, and then as it rises up, it uncompresses. So naturally, the suspension itself and the dampers are very, very important in that. And that's one of the reasons that the rebound, I mean, you can sort of take two ways about it. If you want, I mean, the ride height and the suspension end up being the most important bits. And, sorry, I have to respond to this real quick. Apologies. Yes, I did see that, Carl, which is nice. You could already do that now with a couple applications, but it'll be really nice that that's actually just going to be baseline in Twitch itself. Okay, anyway, so to go, no, it's the short film I took a 3-week break for last year. It's a lot of the post is finally done, so it's just some feedback input and whatnot. I'm finishing it up. Oh, there was the... Actually, I want to see what happened here. Because it felt really odd what the car did. Yeah, it just breaks free, so... I mean, there is a bit of a rise there. Hey, Plex. Actually, what speed was I going when I hit the wall this time? So that's very much worth noting, by the way. So when I hit the wall doing about 90 kilometers an hour, you saw how much damage it did. When I hit the wall doing about 28 to 30, it did almost nothing to the car. So that's one of the big differences, by the way. If I had been able to just... if I had been able to just stay on the brakes the first time, I think I would have gotten away with less damage and I would have been able to just push on. Ooh, excuse me. But anyway, in terms of, so ignoring everything else with the car, if you absolutely have to get a car to work good over the curbs, the first thing personally I would do is probably just start with softening both suspensions without changing anything else. Then if it still feels terrible, soften the rebounds 2 or 3 clicks, the bumps 1 or 2 clicks. And then if it still feels bad, then I would raise the ride height a bit. And then if it still feels bad, revert everything and just avoid the curbs. Like, if you get to the point where... That is a good point, depending... I don't know if RFactor 2 judges that in any way, in terms of the actual surfaces. But yeah, so realistically, if you get in a car and you really want it to work well on the curbs, and you've already changed the ride height, the suspension, and the dampers, like, by the suspension I mean, so the ride height, the spring rates, the dampers, and potentially the ARBs, if you've changed all of that and it still feels bad around the curbs, just avoid the curbs. It just means the car and the setup and the way the car rides, everything is not going to ride the curbs at all. No. In every single game that I play, so Race Room, RFactor, Assetto Corsa, Automobilista / Stock Car Extreme, in every single one of those, lower values are softer, higher values are stiffer. For everything. So, same with downforce. Lower values are lower rates, higher values are higher rates, although it makes a little more sense with that. But, so as you can see on my setup, my front suspension is actually pretty stiff. Considerably stiffer than the rear. And then with ARBs, it's the same. So my rear air anti-roll bar is soft, my front anti-roll bar is stiff. That's a thing I used to get wrong a lot of the time, so I definitely understand getting that wrong. Oh, I forgot. Oh. You know what I should have done for my braking issues? Before I changed the diff coast, I didn't change the bias, but before I changed the diff coast, I should have changed the pedal force. I tend to forget that as an option. Not the worst thing in the world that I forgot it, but it's frustrating because it would have been a good thing to change. Anyway, all right. Now we are going